It's not easing conspiracy theorists' fears. Right now, you just heard Al Green, the Democratic congressman, among those, like the investigator Ted Williams, saying, how is it a guy on suicide watch and 24/7 surveillance manages to commit suicide in the very jail cell he attempted the exact same thing only a few weeks ago? So much we don't know. Let's get the latest from Fox News correspondent Bryan Llenas. Hey, Bryan.
Hey, Neil. Well, the Federal Bureau of Prisons has come out with an official statement confirming what we have been reporting now for the last couple hours, that Jeffrey Epstein was found unresponsive around 6:30 this morning in his jail cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York. They said that life-saving measures were initiated, but it was too late. They are calling it an apparent suicide. That's officially coming from the Bureau of Prisons. Now, we're talking about what's happening to Jeffrey Epstein. I think it's important to realize the level of charges that this man was facing. This is somebody who was facing 45 years in prison, and the evidence against him was overwhelming. Millions of court documents, dozens of victims, thousands of photos found recently in his home, in his mansion in New York, of girls and minors, nude and semi-nude. The weight of the Southern District of New York was against him. And just recently this week, thousands of other documents were released in civil lawsuits against him. Again, this case was pretty rock solid in terms of the evidence coming towards him. So I think it's important to realize that as we try to analyze what we're seeing here with Jeffrey Epstein apparently killing himself. Another thing, the attorneys for some of the victims have released a statement. Brad Edwards is an attorney for Virginia Goffrey. She's one of the victims here, one of the people who accused Epstein. And in that statement, it said, the fact that Jeffrey Epstein was able to commit the selfish act of taking his own life as his world of abuse, exploitation, and corruption unraveled is both unfortunate and predictable. The victims deserve to see Epstein held accountable, and he owed it to everyone he hurt to accept responsibility for all the pain he caused. That is some of the sentiment that's now coming from all of these women who had accused this man and who had waited for at least almost 2 decades to see some sort of justice served here. So I also think the thoughts here are now with those people who are trying to now figure out how they are going to see justice done. I think about being in the courtroom when Annie Farmer, who said when she was 16 years old, Epstein had her sent to his New Mexico ranch where he was inappropriate with her, and Courtney Wild, who says she was 14 when Epstein sexually abused her in his Palm Beach home. And I think of both of those victims because both of those alleged victims said they spoke in court at his bail hearing not a few weeks ago, and they said, please, judge, do not let this man out. He is a danger to the community. And in fact, they were really adamant about that. And for them, that was the very first time that they had seen Jeffrey Epstein in a courtroom, and they spoke directly to him and to the court. And that was a moment for them where they were able to finally feel as though they were getting their voices heard. And so I not only am thinking about Annie Farmer and Courtney Wild, but I'm thinking about the dozens of other potential victims here who are now been robbed of the chance to have been able to see justice served, or to at least have had a process and a trial for themselves. In terms of what's next, Neil, quickly here, the Federal Bureau of Prisons has steps that need to be taken. In the event of a suicide, right now they are treating that jail cell as a crime scene. The FBI is now investigating, and now what's now going to happen is there's going to be a report that's going to be put together by a psychologist and others, and it's called a mortality review report. And that's going to be prepared, and it's going to explain essentially what happened here. There's also going to be a psychological reconstruction report. Those are then going to be sent to a special review committee, and that special review committee will essentially see what kind of recommendations need to be taken for either corrective action or if something needs to be who needs to be at fault here for this. You had mentioned this before. This is a man who was at the Metropolitan Correctional Center under 24-hour security and surveillance, and somebody who was on suicide watch. Obviously, right now, there are big questions about how this could happen. And obviously, because of this man's connections to politically important people from both sides of the aisle, as well as celebrities and wealthy people, of course, those conspiracy theories are going to be out on Twitter. And until we know more, though, I think, again, it is important to realize the weight of the charges leveled against this guy, and that obviously he had tried to kill himself again. So we'll see. The facts will play itself out here, Neil. But that is what we know so far.
Bryan Llenas, thank you very, very much. And to Brian's point, there is presumably tape of this, and you can bet authorities have already searched that tape. The timing early this morning, presumably around 6:30 a.m., when, by almost all accounts, he killed himself. Jeffrey Epstein dead at 66. More after this.